My baby looking too good, yeah, she perfect. No, she worth it. When she pull up, all them man, them flirting. And yeah, she know that she a dime. Call up on my line. Told her, baby, bring it one time. Yeah. Just sit down and relax.
Yo, what's really good though? It's your girl Yezzir, and you are back listening to another banging episode of Hey Sis UK. Before we get into it, I want to let you know that this is a very special episode. We've got a guest on. Her name is Bamie, and we are going to be talking about a lot of subjects right now that might be a bit sensitive for you. So I want to say trigger warning. We will be discussing the journey of marriage. We will be discussing miscarriages and illnesses. But we're also going to be talking about the importance of this episode, which is about owning your journey. So we are here to talk about someone that has lived a lifetime in such a short space of time. So Bamie, welcome to the show, sis.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Hi. Welcome to me. Welcome you.
No, you know
Nice
what?
to meet you.
I'm so glad that you've allowed us to talk about your story, because I saw you personally. This is nothing to do with Deborah that normally does these things. I saw you personally on my FYP, and I was just taken aback at your journey, everything that's happened, and then where you are today. I said, whoa, this is a strong sister. And I don't mean strong in like a condescending way that they expect from black women, but I'm saying like spiritually, I can see your strength. So I want to say thank you so much for coming on.
Having me. I really appreciate it. It's nice to know that at least my journey isn't, it's doing what it's meant to do, which is pretty much why I put it out there. So yeah.
Okay, cool.
Grateful I'm here.
So you touched my heart, because I was like, this is my kind of babe already, because you actually brought something for me. Yeah. Guys, I don't get gifts often like this on the show, so when I get it, best believe I'm going to talk up the things. Oh,
gift giving.
Thank you. So we're actually going to be getting into this, but I just want to show everyone this first before they get taken in.
Ew.
So you are an author.
Yes, I am a lot of things.
A lot of things.
Trades.
You are multi-hyphenate creative.
Yeah.
And this is your book.
Yeah.
So let's get into talking about your book. So if you could explain this, not only does she have the book right here, yeah, and I will be doing the close-up, there is an accompanying notebook
as well.
And we got to start from the genesis. You see, I meant the pun right there, because you actually designed this.
Yeah, everything illustrated, designed, put together, and then sent it off, self-published as well.
Self-published?
Yeah.
Okay, you better talk about it. You better talk about it. So the book is basically what I want to say is the pivotal point in your journey. But if you don't mind, if we could start from the beginning, because the first thing that caught me, and just before we get into it, I've got our sponsor for the season. If you don't know about Chapman's of London, you better get into it. And I actually want you to try some Chapman's of London. Okay. Let me know your honest opinion.
Okay, honest or like half honest?
Honest opinion. Okay. Because trust me, the owner, lover, she wants honest opinions. Okay. So if you could crack this open, I don't know what the nail situation is.
Oh, I've learned the trick behind this,
Oh, is it?
Yeah, like my keys.
Oh yeah, keys. Okay,
Bam.
yes.
I
Crack
learned
the can
keys.
with the keys.
Bam. My nail broke several times. I have to go get it fixed. That's £5, So,
per finger.
So, look at that. Quick.
This is authentic. This ain't fake. She cracked it on screen. We're gonna have it in the Hey Sis mug. You're gonna give us a sip now.
Okay.
And the girlies know you gotta do it through the straw, because we're not trying to mess up the lip action.
Not the combo.
Oh, she stared. I love it. Okay, what do we think? That's the original.
This is original.
This is the original.
It tastes authentic, But like it's giving. I can taste the bitters inside it.
Did you hear that?
It's giving,
the bitters.
The bitters.
This is the original. There's a light. So light is like if you want to be on the beach in the bikini. But if you want,
I'll be on the beach for this.
You'll be on the beach for this, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's nice.
So you like it, yeah?
I actually like it.
You actually like it?
No, but for real, this is actually nice.
Okay. I didn't even pay her to say that. I did not.
I make Chapman at home. And my mom makes Chapman, so we actually know. That's why I said like the bitters. I can taste the bitters. It tastes like proper Niger Chapman. So shout out to you, because that's
shout out to Chapman's of London. I didn't even know that you made bitters. Okay, that's how you know it's real. Because if she's saying it tastes good and she makes it, then if you know, you know.
Yeah, my mom makes Chapman, and she puts like bitters, Sprite, grapefruit, a bit of Ribena and stuff like that. But this tastes pretty much
legit.
Given, as far as one thing I know about Chapman, as far as it's got a bit of bitters inside, it's given. Oh, it does.
Yeah, it does have bitters in it.
Yeah.
And no preservatives, no artificial colorings. So it's good for the body. It's good for the system.
I love it.
See now? So let's talk about the beginning of your journey. Yeah. I'm on the FYP. I come across your video. The first line that strikes me is, I got married at 28. So where was your mind at that point in time when you're getting married at 28?
I think I was even 27 when I started the whole process.
Okay.
But my mind was just, I finished uni. I did my master's, and like just like every African, you know how it is, there's a flow.
Yeah.
Our own timeline is our timeline, and
Yep.
we have to stick to it. So there was no consideration of anything else that could happen in my life. It was just get married, have a baby, and build a life. And I was excited, and I was saying to myself, yes. And I was with someone who had been with since, I mean, we were on and off, but I've known him since I was about 14, 15.
Oh, wow. Okay. So
Yeah.
you
So
knew, yeah.
I was like, you know, life and fate brought us together
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So it just made sense, and everything was falling at the right time. So in my head, I was like, this is the right time to do this.
Yeah.
So I went with it, you know. I wouldn't say I had known what marriage entails, what was in front or anything. I just, in my head, I was just like, I want to be married. Okay, I've seen so many Ashobis on Bella Niger. I'm gonna wear my own. That was my thought process. I'm going to wear my own, and that was it. Nobody could tell me, even if you tell me tomorrow that rapture is happening, I was like, I will wear Ashobi.
That's right.
I will wear my own, Ashoke,
Yeah.
and I'll have my own Ashobi and all of that. So it was more about the wedding for me. I didn't even consider the marriage aspect and what else there was to come.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, and that's deep. I think even people that, I don't know, like have years in the marriage game will still say there's things I'm learning. It's not perfect. I think when people come and approach marriage with it needs to be like this, that's when it gets a bit complicated. So you get the process at 27, you're getting married, you're in your full on head to toe, gele, everything. Bride price has been paid at this point, everything.
No going back.
And no going back when it's paid,
Going back.
you know, and then the second line is like, that's not the case. So how did you, at such a tender age, decide, because it's scary, that, this isn't for me anymore? What happened at that point in time? Because it's striking. How do you tell the family? How do you tell the parents? How did you even come to terms with it yourself?
So I didn't come to terms with it. You know, like when they say something like, some people say they cut off their wedding, like when they find something and they leave it.
Yeah.
I didn't. There was nothing. The traditional wedding happened.
Okay.
And it was lit. It was fun. But then it was the white wedding. The day before the white wedding, it was a whole lot of mess. Like a whole lot of... It was like, you know, when something shows that two people need to work on something and work hard at it, it was showing that. We had friends that had flown in all the way from Nigeria and they had stayed. We all stayed in one hotel and they had watched everything unfold. And it was like, clearly, like, no one's going to say it, but the elephant in the room is like, are y'all really getting married? Like,
Oh, no.
ain't this about a... Yeah.
Yeah.
And no one's going to say it to your face because marriage is your choice, is your dynamic. And you can't tell a woman, love is not enough, you know, all those things. So in my head, I was like, I'm going to go see this through.
Yeah.
And I'm going to see it through and come what may. I come from a home with my mum who's been married for years and I've seen her chest so many things. And I learned to be strong through her.
Yeah.
Because she used to say this thing like, it will get better in the future. And she lived her entire life waiting for life to get better. And eventually it just didn't come the way she wanted to. It did get better, but not the way she had in mind. And for me, I was like, well, it's fine, you know, it's okay. And then when I got into the marriage, things got real, like fast. You know, you start living together. We were already even living together before, but it was now more of a thing of, we're married now, so it's what it is, like see finish.
Yeah.
So the full see finish now started entering. Things were hard at home, complicated, and life was happening. I was taking loads of courses, trying to run a business. I was building a studio downstairs, so I did hair, nails, and so many things. It was lockdown. We had the finances. We had so many things, and I was starting to drown because I felt alone. Like I wanted to be a wife and all these things, and my life wasn't really going the best. But my partner's life at the time was going okay. You know, nothing really changed. You know, with men, the change isn't much, but for us, it's more of a change. And then you start to think about things like, okay, so, you know, is this person too comfortable? Am I too comfortable? How do we make it, you know? But then I started seeing that there was this divide of like being an individual. So I think we both wanted to be individuals, but I'm more of a codependency kind of person. So I guess a part of me wanted to be very codependent. And then over time, it was more like he had his life to live, his things to do. He was always busy and I was just lonely. I was super duper lonely. And then other things started arising, misunderstandings, heavy misunderstandings. I guess there's this side in everyone's head that for me, I think when I got into the marriage, I felt like this is what marriage is supposed to be like you said.
Yeah.
But there's supposed to be spaces to bend. And
Yeah.
with both of us, there wasn't space to bend. We've had previous issues because we've been together for years. So we've had issues, trust issues, life issues, everything is now thrown in our faces. So, for example, we'd have issues that most couples could probably resolve like this. But because of the type of temperament I have and he has, it just didn't work. The dynamic was always bad. Now, over time, I started suppressing my emotions. I wouldn't want to say stuff, or if I do, I'll be really upset. So rather than saying it, I would cry every day. I literally cry. I'm very sure I cried almost every day. And it got to the point where life was really hitting home. I was applying for jobs. I wasn't getting some at some point. I started focusing heavy on business. And at one point, I was literally doing hair, nails in my studio downstairs, working at some point at Amazon warehouse for whatever reason during lockdown, and then trying to work at a salon as well, and trying to cook and like sell food to uni students.
Yeah.
So it was like I was doing so many things and watching someone else coast and not having support, not feeling, but I couldn't blame, if that makes sense, I couldn't blame him, because it's like when you enter something as a union, the way women go into it is like we're a pair.
Yeah.
Some men go into it thinking that I'm an individual, you're an individual. But when we come out together, we're a united front and stuff. And it was a lot of weight to carry.
And as a creative woman, to you, because I'm sure there's a lot of women out there that are spinning many plates and they're doing their thing and they're attached to someone, whether it's not married or married. What does support look like for you?
I think for me at that time,
what would you have wanted?
What I would have wanted was someone to, even if they couldn't help pitch a hand, because I'm a firstborn daughter. So I'm used to having 5 hands for myself.
Yeah.
Even if I need the help and you say, can I help? And I'm like, no, it's okay. But deep down inside, I need that help.
Yeah.
But at that time, I think support would just be, you keep going, babe. Just keep going. Just keep showing up, keep going. And I don't think I had that, I just felt very alone. And then we had like a huge community of people around us. So we used to have home parties, games nights and stuff like that. And I like to host people. That was my thing. I like cooking. I like doing everything. But it was getting draining because people would show up and I'd have to smile. Knowing that when they leave, I don't know what I'm going to get. I don't know if I'm going to be ignored. I don't know if I'm going to, have to, we argue too much. The dynamic was weird. Sometimes we could not speak for a while and stuff like that. So it was very trivial. And I always say, like, I don't blame one person. If you look at my page, I always try to say that it comes where two people are in misalignment. Yeah. That's where the issue starts. And I think this comes when codependency for me looked like what I didn't think it was. I didn't learn about who I was. I had nothing doing. So, and he's very, very talented and had things that he was doing. So in that time, he would find himself doing something or doing lads things. And I was always like, what do I do? I'm married now. There's nothing else for me to do. And that was when I was starting getting into my creative bag and really trying to figure out what I can do. Yeah. But sometimes you just need someone to wave the flag, and say, yo, like, keep going. I'm here for you and stuff. And it just didn't look like that sometimes. Yeah. So, yeah.
So that was like literally how the marriage was, like temperament wise, it's quite high. And you got two young people trying to pursue something. And when you're creative, it's very heavy because you're putting a lot of stuff out that is sensitive to you. You want people ultimately to like what you do. And if things aren't working out, you're figuring things out. You'd like to have your personal person to just encourage you.
There's a lot of maturity that goes into that space of marriage. You're a team, right? And I think mentally a lot of people don't realize what team means. It means that where I lack, you fill up my cup, and it's the other way around. So if I'm inconsistent, I'm hoping the person I marry is a consistent person, because they will be able to ginger that. Yeah. It's a push and pull effect. So you're not looking to marry the perfect person. You're looking for someone that is compatible with what you are. Yeah. But my problem was I wouldn't say I married with those things in mind. I married with the idea of I'm in love, and we were high school sweethearts and all these things, and we were together for years and all this whatever. So it's like we've known each other for years. Fate and life pushed us back together, and that was the thought process I took. Yeah, that was the actual thing. That was literally my thought process, and that was how I went with it. I was very mature. I would say when I got married, I was very, very immature. I don't think I knew myself enough to even make that decision at that time.
So is it fair to say that you entered marriage with infatuation and is
Completely. There was no idea of who I was. I didn't think beyond why. I just felt like, you know what, this life, you know, you just get married. That's literally the flow of how it is.
like
you know, when you
like
go
a
to
tick
uni
box,
and then your mom's like, don't have a boyfriend. And then when you finish uni, it's like, oh, so when are you getting married? It's like, am I going to just like this from, that was how it felt.
Yeah.
Like I'd dated so many different guys and had varieties. We've had ups and downs and everything. But by the time it was time to get married, it was just, we were both in the right place at the right time. Yeah. And this was the next step for both of us.
So, because my thing is that I'm just like, whoa, that's a lot. In the midst of a marriage, you're doing your thing, he's doing your thing. The communication aspect, which a lot of people would say is the key to having a decent relationship. And then you're still coming to terms with being a wife, figuring out who you are, and then pregnancy comes into the mix. Yeah. And if you don't mind me asking, what was going through your mind when you found out you were pregnant?
So initially, I think that everything had broken down completely. So imagine like two people, they're scared, they're both walking on eggshells. That's what it felt like. Yeah. So it was like we were living two separate entities. When you see us together, we were like, but then in my head, most times I'm like, oh, let me not cross this line. So like, you know, and I'm sure he probably felt the same. Yeah. It was very, very like explosive sometimes. Yeah. And then we had a issue that happened and arose. And after that issue, I became very, very resentful and bitter because I was just like, why would you do this? And then I think after that, I forgave. Now, that whole process, I remember going through days and days asking the Holy Spirit, why would this happen? This. I feel alone. I just want to leave. I was making all the excuses. And the Holy Spirit just said, just be kind. And I at one point I was like, nah, this is me looking for an excuse just to stay. And my mom would, you know, tell me and say like, look, you need to be patient, be kind, just see it through, this. And she was worried because she would always say, something was up. But then when I got pregnant, it was like out of the blue. I didn't even know. So we had, you know, started, you know, communicating at home. So it wasn't all bad. We just had like ups and downs. But towards that period, we had a very rough time. But then we started getting back on track again. And then I got pregnant. And then I remember my friend, I was on the phone with my friend, and she was like, you've peed so many times on the phone. And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. She's like, you've peed so many times. And I was like, I'll call you back. I'm going to buy a sandwich. And then I went to go buy a test, and I tested. And I remember bursting out in tears. And I was like, God, I don't need this right now. Like, I don't. I want, but I don't need it because I don't even know where I am. What do I have to offer? And then a day later, I started feeling happy. And I was like, you know what? That's fine. At least I have a lot of love to give. And if I can't give it where I need to give it, I'll give it to this baby. Okay. That was my thought process. And I used to describe it most times, like to my friends, like I felt like I was in this really dark tunnel. And then someone came with like a little torch and it was far away, but I would see it and I would run towards it. That was how it felt.
That glimmer of hope. I
just felt like finally something. Maybe this is the thing that's gonna make us, you know, closer. This is the thing that's gonna finally. Maybe this is I was just hopeful, like every day hopeful, and every day I was just like, you know what, if it's hard today, it will get. Tomorrow will be easier. You know, when they say babies come, they're blessings. I was just looking about so many things in my mind. I was like, you know what? Yeah, it's true. Babies are blessings. So there's nothing that can take this away from me. So I was looking forward to, you know, finally I'll be a mom. You know, maybe I'll be loved a bit more. I don't know if you've read about the story of Leah in the Bible. And she basically was married to Jacob. Was it Jacob? Yeah, she was married to him. She wasn't supposed to be married to him. Her sister Rachel was supposed to be married to him. Okay. But then eventually her dad switched them around. She married and he wasn't really happy with her. Mm-hmm. He stayed, married the sister, eventually married both of them. But essentially her husband loved Rachel more. She was just like the bonus kind of thing. Yeah. And she always wanted him to love her and always wanted to be loved. And every time she had a child, she would say, finally, my husband would acknowledge me. Finally, he would love me, finally. And that's how I felt. Wow. I genuinely felt like, finally, you know, we'll be okay. Finally, things are looking up.
And I wanted to touch on something because you said that you were at a point of like bitterness and things like that and you forgave. So, because there are men that are watching as well, brothers of the show, and sometimes they might have felt like they've pushed their woman to a certain limit. Is it possible for a man that's offended his partner to the point of the partner feeling bitter towards them and having some type of resentment? Is there ever an opportunity to turn that around, or is it that some women if they get to that point of bitterness, it's never the same again.
You need to figure out the kind of woman you're with. Some women, there's no going back. I always say, like, you need to know the temperament this woman has. You need to know where she's coming from, her background, know the dynamics between her parents. I didn't have the best of, like, dynamics when it came to my dad. I love my dad and everything. We had on and offs, but we always used to butt heads.
Yeah.
And eventually it got to a place where whenever I would find myself in that space with a guy, I would always feel like I needed to prove a point because I never felt good enough when it came to my dad. So most times when you give and you give, if you're someone that likes to give, you give and you give and you give and you give and you hope that one day you're going to get it back. When you get to that space where you're not ready to give anymore, you're done, you're tired, it will hit the guy like a shock. But he will think, she's going through this stage, we'll still give it again. But some of the women, that's why they say when women are done, we don't leave like this. We mentally process these things months before, weeks before. We've thought about how it looks, how it might look, how crazy we would look as well. And then we make that decision. So with most men, I would advise, think about the woman you have. If she sees red, like if you're with someone that sees red, like all the way 24s and everything, you could reason with someone like that because the way they do is like instantly they get angry and then they can cool off.
Hot and cold.
But if you're with someone who's very silent, doesn't say much,
Lethal.
they have everything buried in here. They're writing the dates, the time, the hour that they're going to execute.
You'll be shocked in court, like, what?
It's going to be like, wait, what? We were fine yesterday, okay? So, yeah, but I mean, for me, I'm a bit of both. But I think for me, I took a bit of my mom's nature. My mom was very soft. So I was always very hopeful. I was getting to that space. I was bitter. I was speaking to friends, speaking to family. I would, say, this is what I'm going through. This is that. But then at the same time, deep down inside, I was getting to that place. I was like, I'm tired. God, I'm tired. God, I'm tired. Like, I got to that place. But yeah, having that pregnancy took me out of that place. It really did. It was like, wow, sunshine again.
Yeah, that glimmer of hope, because the reason why I was even saying in the beginning, like, you've lived a lifetime in a short space of time is because there's you becoming a wife, finding out you're pregnant, and then you get the unfortunate news of, not carrying the baby to the end of term. I don't know how the miscarriage came about for you. It was weird. So I started having pain. Yeah. And when I started having pain, it was just, I couldn't bear it anymore. I went to A&E. They took me from place to place. In fact, they did a scan, the first scan. And sorry, are you by yourself at this point in time? No. So it was during COVID. So he dropped me off and everything. It was still fine. We were together. And I said, I'm feeling pain. And he was like, okay, let me drop you, And he couldn't come in. He was on the phone, checking in and everything. And I've got to A&E. And one thing I would say, please, NHS need to do better, okay? Yeah. Black women bodies are so different. Like, I had fibroids and I had no idea that they were blocking the neck of the womb. So they were trying to go with the transvaginal scan thingy inside, and they weren't seeing anything. The fibroids were blocking. They were like, some lady came in, some doctor came in, she's like, you're not pregnant. And then they had to get like an Asian doctor. Yeah. And he literally came in, and as soon as he saw it, he said, you never, ever use this to go like through a scan when you see there's fibroids. You have to use the actual checking through the thingy. So when he used the normal check-in scan, put the jelly on and everything, then we saw the baby, we saw the whole everything, and then we could hear the heartbeat, the boom, 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 boom. Yeah. And he was like, see, there's the baby. Baby's here. And the lady was like, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize this. And I was telling her, I'm uncomfortable. This pain is uncomfortable. I was trying to explain, and she was just not trying to hear it. She's like, there's no baby. Like, did you test? And they tested me along the way. They do like the test when you first come in. They tell you to pee in the cup. They test that. Yeah. Then they do blood tests. All over my test, it was saying I was pregnant. This lady was like adamant. There was no baby there. That's so messed up. Yeah, it was really stressful. Like, I was there for hours. I didn't leave until like 2 a.m. or 1 a.m. It was the longest time ever. And he was calling the whole time. He's like, everything's okay. I was like, listen, I don't understand what's happening. Yeah. This is what I'm hearing here. And I was being moved from one department to the other. But once they realized, then they put me on like a watch. So week by week, I had to come in and they would do a scan. Then I got to, I think it was week 9, week 10. And I got there, and for some strange reason, I just felt somehow, but I prayed every day. I would anoint the belly and I would go about my day. And then the lady was like, the lady doing the scan, the nurse, she was like, we can't see anything flickering on the screen, like, which is the heartbeat.
And she's like, normally there's like supposed to something flicker, but don't worry about it. You know, it's nothing to worry about. So I was like, okay, that's fine. But obviously I was worried. But I called my mum. I told her, and she was like, well, pray, it's fine. It's nothing. So I still carried on. I bought baby clothes. I was getting ready, you know, getting excited. Even though it was early, it just felt like I had something to look forward to. Yeah. And then the next week I went, the lady was like, yeah, it seems like something's wrong. You know, the baby hasn't grown between last week and this week. There's no heartbeat anymore, but everything still looks intact, whatever. And I was like, I'm not taking it for an answer, sis. Okay, just get me off this bed. Let me go. I'm going to go do my own private scan. I don't trust NHS anyway. So whatever.
Yeah.
So I was like, fine. The lady was like, fair enough. So I went to do my own scan, and the lady was like, yeah, unfortunately, there's nothing flickering on the screen, but the baby doesn't look like it's grown beyond the amount of weeks it's supposed to grow. And at that moment, everything inside me was just numb. But I still wasn't taking it for an answer. Yeah. I was still in my hope bag. I still had that. I was still seeing that torture. And I was like, nah, you're lying because God doesn't give me anything. And fun fact about this, I didn't even mention this, and this was the key thing. Yeah. So in December, prior to everything happening, in December, I was reading my Bible and the Holy Spirit gave me a word to buy baby onesies. Okay. And I literally didn't have the money to buy it. I remember saying to myself, like, look, things are tight. I'm not wasting money on a baby onesie. Yeah. But it happened, I think it was like on discount. So I bought 3 baby onesies at that time in faith. And then when I bought the onesie, I just wrapped it and kept it. And then by, I think it was like February, I got pregnant. So in my head, it was meant to be. All aligning. This is what God has, you know, that's what I'm saying. The torch is there. This is what God has called to happen. So why are you now telling me this baby is gone? I was livid. I was livid at myself. I was livid at so many things. But then I still didn't care. Went home. This time I as good as bathing in anointing oil. I literally got my whole body. I was like, nah, I'm covered. I was in that bag. I was like, nope, I'm not taking no for an answer. And then so many things happened. My friend had a dream. She called me and she was like, this dream was very off. There were so many things about the dream that were off. And it was just very spiritual. But in the dream, indirectly, it was basically kind of giving the tone that, you know, it's gone. Oh, wow. Yeah, in a very funny way. And that your friend was the one that told you? She called me. That was her dream. And she was meant to come to my house, I think, early in the hours of the morning to follow me for my appointment. So she came very early in the morning. Prior to her coming, she called me about the dream. We prayed. She came to my house and then she took me to the GP. We were both hopeful. We were there for hours, waiting in the A&E, the early unit. And then they did another scan. And then after the scan, there was so much silence. I was laying down. I was just like, yeah. At that time, the lady was like, call someone else. She called another nurse. Then after, I just heard like a sigh of like, how do we tell her kind of thing. Then the other lady's like, unfortunately. When I heard that, unfortunately, you know when you want to cry, but you're like, you hold back. I literally held it back. And it felt like that light that I was seeing in that tunnel, someone just turned it black. Yeah. I was done. I was like, God, I'm done with you. I'm done with this. I'm done with everything. I don't understand what's happening, where you're taking me. I don't get it because I can't see the vision behind what you're trying to do. So in that time, my friend was like, so what's the next step and everything? They're like, oh yeah, we're going to remove, you know, the thing today. And if you want an appointment and stuff. And I said, oh, okay, am I going to be asleep? Am I going to be awake? They said they only have it like, you'll be numbed, but you'll be awake and stuff. So my friend was like, yeah, call him and tell him. So I called him. I said, hey, so this is what happened and whatever. And he was like, okay, so what time? I said, by 3. And he was like, okay, cool. That was that. So that day, they you know, called me, go home, eat, rest, and then prepped me for it. My friend followed me. I think he was at work, so he finished his work around maybe 4, 5-ish or whatever. And then got there, did the surgery, did the whole procedure and everything. And then when I got back home, I just laid on the sofa and I was just like, God, what is this? Like, I felt so alone, so weird. And so my friend had been calling him, like, hey, I need to go home. And he just, first of all, he picked up and it's like he's on his way or something. I don't even know. But I didn't get home till late, like very, very late, like 9, 10. What? Then when he got home, I was on the sofa and my friend she left by 9 something. Yeah. And he was quiet. No hug, no nothing. Wow. No, hey, are you okay? You know? And I was even asking, do you have a bad day at work? You're even checking in with him. And then he was just like, why would she leave and not tell me she's leaving? So I called my friend. I was like, yo, look what happened. And she was just like, sis, this is a lot. And that night, I remember I cried on the sofa. That night, I think it defined every single thing in me from that point. And I was like, yeah, this is not a way to live. And I can't blame anyone, because I feel like we only approach things the best way we all know how.
Yeah.
I can't expect someone to have a sense of urgency for me if I've made them comfortable to feel like I'm not a priority.
Whoa, sis, that's a lot what you just said though.
Yeah,
because in that moment of time though, I feel like everything goes out the window, and there should have been, you deserved that sense of urgency.
But you are putting, like, I guess the idea of
yeah
expectations on someone. It's like me saying, I expect you. It's about, if you put expectations on someone,
yeah
then it's not about saying, oh, I expected this person should have done this and done that. The reality is, yes, somebody should have done and would have and whatever. But the truth is, if you put someone in mind and expect them to do a certain thing and they don't meet up to that expectation, you should be able to swallow whatever comes, the outcome of it.
I hear what you're saying. And I feel like I've come from a place, first daughter, I do everything myself. It's very hard for me to depend on anyone because I'm let down, or I do it best. And then it's like I've had a journey of my own, and even if it's not putting your whole faith in someone, it's like coming to terms with it being okay to have an expectation of somebody to come through for you when you're that person that comes through for everybody else. Because I know you're somebody's first point of call. They got you on speed dial. You're the person they come to for advice and, you know, guidance on so many things. It's like, it's okay if we have that for somebody else.
I think where God has taken me to, and I would advise anyone,
is please
don't rely
on anyone.
People.
Yeah,
like
not even an expectation.
Don't build you will be bitter and resentful. And I think where I got to that place, I now made up my mind. Like, yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
But at that time, I didn't know this. By the way, this is conversations I've had with myself over time and realized that.
Yeah.
You know, I couldn't make an expectation. I don't know how they're feeling. I don't know how they heal. I don't know how they go through it.
Yeah.
I can say that I wanted someone to step up. I wanted someone to be there for me. I wanted someone to do this or do that, whatever. But the truth is, I can't blame anyone for how they approach the situation. That they probably don't know what was best. I don't know what was in their mind. The only thing I can say about the situation was I'm not going to ever expect from someone who has shown me that I'm not priority.
Yeah.
I'm expecting, I'm now putting on my chest like, yeah, you should have done this, you should have done that. Granted, there were times when I've had that conversation and gotten upset and angry, but I think after walking out, I began realizing that it's now about me. If I decide to go and build with someone and they've shown me time and time again I'm not a priority, then who's looking crazy? You're the one. You're drawing your clown makeup as you're telling them, care about me.
Oh, you didn't lie there.
Care about me.
No lies told there.
Yeah, you know, so that's why I said a lot of this marriage thing, sometimes women, we like to blame the guy. You know, we say, it's his fault. No, sis. Sometimes he's showing you clearer than day what he's going to do, be, or whatever. Then you have a choice. You say, I work with this, I can take this, I can't take this. And I think for me, I was very much, you know, delulu. And then when I started walking in, I started realizing that some things that I was thinking, you know, and they say, I can change him. Yeah, no.
Child.
You know, and you too, you have your own shortcomings as well. I mean, it's easy for you to point fingers, but 3 fingers are pointing back at you. So, it's looking back at you. Like, you point at that person, you say, he did this, he did that. But then there are a lot of things that I did. You know, there were a lot of things I don't think I was the most appreciative of things, the smaller things, the big.
Don't forget to subscribe to Hey Sis UK so you never miss out on an episode. I think what you mentioned about being appreciative, I think it's overlooked a lot.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not perfect. There's times where I can nitpick. There's times where I should be appreciative of things. But then I have this kind of crossroads, and I wanted to actually talk to you about this in the sense of how do you show appreciation for the right things, but also making it aware that, but this is an expectation though, as well. Because sometimes I feel like men can interpret appreciation as, oh, this is the extraordinary, but this is the standard.
I think I look at men, like, I wouldn't say this to offend any man, but I look at men a bit like children. They're like kind of programmed with A, B, and C. They're very logical. Yeah. So if you feed them this information, this is what they take out of it, and that's that. So I would say that when it comes to appreciating them, it's about figuring out their love language. Okay, some men like food, food.
Yeah.
Some men like different things. But when you figure out that love language, you can then incorporate that love language with some words. Hey, babe, I really appreciate you for this particular thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you don't want to beat him down by saying, but that's the standard though.
Yeah.
But that's the bare minimum though.
Yeah.
I'm saying this, but granted, I can be that girl too. Sometimes we do. Obviously, we want to let them know, thank you for the flowers you bought, but it's the bare minimum. Like, you know?
Yeah.
But when you tell him that you appreciated it in such a way that's like, oh, I really appreciate the flowers. You're not going to be, a flower.
Yeah.
But he will then have that registered in his brain. She appreciated the flowers. She made me food.
Yeah.
It made her softer. It made her warmer. I know this is how to get to her when I need to. And he programs that in his brain.
Yeah.
So therefore, he's reading it like, okay, she appreciated that. But for every single time when you don't vocalize it or make an effort towards it, you know, wear a little lingerie and say, hey, babe, I really appreciate. I say add words to it because men really need words and pictures alongside each other.
Yeah.
When you send them to the shop, oh, babe, what milk? You send a picture too. So like you need the picture. So the picture is what you do, your act of service or your act of love or your cooking, whatever. And then the actual words will follow. You make sure to say those words. Make sure to communicate that I really appreciate this. Something I didn't do. I found it hard to appreciate because I was so stuck in where I was with how bitter and angry and frustrated. I was frustrated at life as well because it wasn't doing what I thought it would do. I was putting in my efforts and it wasn't bringing out fruits. And then I was then having this situation where I wasn't appreciating this person. And I guess maybe in their head they were like, well, so it just became two people just coexisting.
And that's when it's like the beginning of the end.
Which is,
It's not good because I think social media as well, it's like it's so easy because before, if someone would tell you about your guy, you know as much as your friend would tell you. And that can be in drips and drops depending on the type of girlfriend you have. But social media will show you in like 1,000 posts of how people are being treated, women in particular.
Which is fake.
Which is fake.
Which is very fake.
Which is fake. But when you get to that point of not realising how disingenuous it is, you internalise that and think, well, this is everyone else's standard. So then the poor guy that you've got at home, when he makes an effort, you're kind of like,
is that all?
Yeah, that's 2 dozen, but I saw that girl with 6 dozen
is that all?
Roses.
I saw they paid you last week. You could have bought 5 roses. You could have bought 10. But I think...
Yeah.
I always like to say this because I am one of those girlies that used to do the whole social media. I see people, oh my God, this girl got this, this girl did this. And
you see everyone else's standards.
And then you make that your standard too.
Oof.
Why?
Recipe for disaster.
And we're all following the same trend. Who actually made it a thing to give flowers and why? Because I always ask people. I say I love flowers.
I love flowers too.
Yeah, I love flowers. And I love them so much, I learned to buy them for myself.
Yeah.
That's how much I love flowers. But I know some girls that don't love flowers, but they want somebody to give them the flower.
Just for the sake
and when
of
you
it.
go to their house on the 3rd day, the flower's like this.
Oh, leaning.
They're not taking care of the flower. So you don't like flowers.
Nah.
You like the idea of flowers.
Yeah.
And this is what I'm saying, that you have to figure out who you... If it goes... Every single thing boils back down with us. Even down to sometimes the dynamics of how our marriages go.
Yeah.
A lot of us claim and say that the man did this and he did that. And I very much left my marriage saying he did this and he did that.
In the beginning.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I was very much like he was this, it was that. And then I look at myself and I was like, nah, sis, you were not all the way together yourself. It's like 2 mad people. Like, you're not all...
And I appreciate you saying that as well. And I want to get to that point of, okay... Because I don't know how it happened. So you left the marriage? Or
was
mutual? Yeah. So how did you get to that point of saying, okay, this is it? What was the straw that broke the camel's back?
I mean, after the whole miscarriage thing and everything, I think that night, describing that night, that was, you know, mentally when we switch off our switch, the switch was off.
That was heavy.
And then at that point, I was just coasting.
Okay.
And I was coasting every day. I was just like, well, I would cry today. I would do this here and there. Everything was just here and there. And then my eyes started swelling up. So I have like a mylar rash here.
And that's when,
So my eyes started swelling up and I started seeing it was getting bigger and bigger. Then it was closing. Now I like to draw. Yeah. So all that time when I was at home, when I felt alone, I started illustrating. It was actually my sister-in-law. She's an amazing artist. Like she can literally draw, ex-sister-in-law. She could draw amazing art stuff. She was one that started off helping me design all my ashoes and stuff for wedding. And then we didn't get a chance to finish it, so I started tracing her stuff, and that was how I started learning too. Okay. And then eventually I got an iPad, and then I started practicing even more. So that was how I started getting good. And I would keep all my time focused on the illustration. Sometimes I wouldn't sleep till 5, 6 a.m. because I just needed to zone out. And my eye was getting worse and worse and worse. And I was still living and coexisting and feeling like, God, is it that you kill me? Or something has to give. And my family was seeing this.
Yeah.
And they were worried. My mum was very worried. And I was going to doctor every time, sitting in the hospital. What's wrong? They said eye infection, this, this. Wasn't getting any better. I was literally walking around like this. Like it was bad. Yeah, it was so bad. Yeah. And I remember going for my mum. One day I opened my eyes and I wanted to finish an illustration from the book. And I opened my eyes and this eye wouldn't open. Jesus. And then I started crying. I was home alone. I was crying. And then I called my mum. At that point, I was still together and everything, but I would say I was alone. So I called my mum and she was like, let me take you to the hospital and stuff. So she came, she picked me up. I got to the hospital and then I called him and said, hey, I'm at the hospital, this, and this. And he's like, oh my God, like, update me and stuff. I said, yeah, will you come and get me? He's like, yeah, I'll come and get you after. Cool. And then I was there for hours. Yeah. And by the time they gave me another eye drop or whatever, I was like, again. And I finished. And I'm like, hello, you come and get me? And he was like, oh, I'm still out. And I was like, okay, cool. So I called my mum. I didn't want to let her know what was going on. Yeah. When I went into the appointment, she was like, should I follow you? I said, no, it's okay. Because I wanted to cry. Because I realized how alone I was at that time. Yeah. At that time, I was like, yeah, I'm doing life alone at this point, sis. Like, you are, So when I got to the GP and stuff, I was just sitting there. People were there with their kids, their families, their whatever. And I was just on my own. And I was just like, God, like, what is this? But it didn't matter to me. I took my iPad. I was still trying to draw what I could see. And then later on, when I think things were getting progressively worse, there were so many other private things that I probably wouldn't bring up here. Yeah. But there were so many things deeper inside between both of us. And my friend's birthday, I remember she traveled to Marrakesh. And we were all meant to go for 7 days. And I called her. I said, I don't think I'm going to be able to make it. Yeah. Home was hard. Finances were more important. So I wouldn't come. Yeah. But I was one that got her dress made. So I remember the dress came late. And it came to my house. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go and drop it for her or however. And my mum saw me and was like, no, I'll pay for your ticket. Just go for a day at least. She's been there for you. It's her 30th. Even if it's only for 1 day. So I said, okay, I'll go for 1 day. So I went. And when I went for that 1 day, I think like it was one of those things where I didn't realize what was gonna happen. A lot of things had been happening. Women, we notice things, but we don't say anything to the person's face. Yeah. So all the women on the trip, they'd seen our dynamic. Our other friend had a birthday. Some incident happened. They saw it there. So on the trip, we had a breakfast, and then I was kind of topic of conversation, and they were just like, they're worried, that they're really worried, and that I look sad. I look like I'm going through a lot. I look depressed, and then we spoke, and they just were like, you know what, you have to do what's best for you. You don't look happy anymore. Yeah. And during that trip, it felt like I felt seen. I was finally seen. And it was like one of those things where when women finally point out things, so one of them pointed out so many things. She pointed out, she's like, a man shouldn't talk to you like this in front of people, this, that. And
okay, so these were really things happening in front of your friends. And was your eye healed at this point when you were... Oh, so you even went...
I didn't even know what was going on. I was just living. Yeah. I carried on living, collecting eye drop, going from private hospital to hospital. Yeah. They couldn't even tell me what was wrong. But I just knew that inside I was just doing anything. I was not even present anymore. One of my friends said, you were wearing Saturday on top of Sunday. That's how gone. Like, I wasn't myself anymore. Yeah. And one of my other friends was like, yeah, Bamie, you're one of those girls that usually had it together. Like, you dress nice, you have your food, you have everything. Like, I'm a working machine, and now the machine is pretty much failing. What's going on? And one person on that trip knew exactly. 2 people knew exactly what was going on. Okay. But the others, they see me intervally, so obviously they were just chimed in where they could. And from that point on, we went on a quad bike trip. And I had already mentally left, so I kept asking God. I was on a quad bike, and I said, God, everyone says you hate divorce. So what am I going to do? Because I can't carry on like this.
And that's why I wanted to ask you, because it's something I saw on your page, and I wanted to say it verbatim. And I said, when sis comes on the show, I'm going to ask her about this. You mentioned something so powerful, and you said, the devil uses God's word to keep us bound because we don't understand who God says he is to us. And I wanted to ask you, sis, like, what did you actually mean by that?
If God says, I'm your savior, I am saving you out of every situation.
Okay.
He didn't call marriage to be a prison for women.
Yeah.
We have made it a prison for ourselves.
Yeah.
Marriage is much more bigger than what we realized. And this is the whole reason why the book came about, because when I kept reading Proverbs, I kept seeing like the word wisdom was personified. If you read Proverbs, it says her gifts is better than silver or gold or profits of gold. God is intentional. Using her is saying specifically that women are meant to embody wisdom.
Yeah.
And the thing about marriage is when you enter marriage and stuff, it says when a man meets a wife or whatever, he obtains favor from the Lord. The favor is wisdom. If God gives you wisdom about something, it's like if you're trying to do maybe a business, a job, or whatever, there's working fast and working smart, whichever one. I'd be working hard and working smart rather.
Yeah.
God is literally giving you the tools to work smart.
Yeah.
Making it easier, giving you corners, and that's what a wife is there to do.
Yeah.
And most men don't deep that. They don't realize. So when you as a woman come in and try to work smart or help work smart and it's not working, don't stay. That's not how it's supposed to be. But people are reading the Bible. God hates divorce. Aunties will stay in marriages for years on years on years. And then they reach 60 and they are the most bitter people you meet. They are the most unhappy. I have met aunties that when they see their husbands, they're like there's no more light anymore to give, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, you didn't have to stay here.
Yeah.
God didn't force you to stay here. What God said was we should be fruitful. We should spread our light. We should give to people. And how are you going to give in a space that's sucking you dry?
Do you feel like a lot of aunties have allowed shame from the community to put them in marriages that become their own prison?
I don't think shame is even the worst one. I think
it's worse.
I think the worst thing that a lot of aunties do, and I really hope that I get an opportunity to at least one day reach their hearts and tell them that it's actually okay for you to come out and say that you left Uncle Lagbaja because he did not meet your expectations and he didn't take care of you.
Yeah.
It's okay to say that you made a mistake. Yeah. It's okay for you to look at your kids and tell them that we'll go this journey together, because you're doing it alone anyway. Majority of them are still doing it alone.
Yeah. Some of them are single-handedly raising the children as well, and I think a lot of them forget that they have to be the best version of themselves to be a mother to their children. You don't want the image of your children throughout their childhood to be mum was always angry, bitter. Frustrated, short-tempered. Definitely. Because of the frustration in her marriage, relationships. And the craziest thing is we've been sold this narrative where they say once you enter a certain age, you're not useful to any man, you've expired. That's a lie. That's a lie from the pit of hell. The point is that women were created. We are the only entity on this earth that can birth through human beings, bring life.
We were created to bring wisdom onto this earth, to teach a man how he should navigate around things, not to lead. The reason why we are behind is because when you see, like, you have a ship and then there's a captain steering the ship. You are literally like the architect of that journey. You are telling that captain, like, okay, if you go up north, there's an iceberg. Turn this way. It's his job to, don't put your hand on steering wheel and turn with him. No. You are just advising him along the way. Like the Holy Spirit advises us. That's literally it.
That's it.
And that's why there's like a hierarchy of things that you're supposed to follow. But a lot of women, you know, the whole feminist thing, I would say sometimes I can be a feminist, but the truth of the matter is I don't believe in the whole do or die affair. I just think that we are doing life wrong. Everyone is doing life wrong. We are not allowing ourselves to understand that life is about making mistakes. How would you have known? If you didn't marry this person, how would you have known what life would have looked like? So if you've experienced it and you've seen that this is not, you learn about it, you learn yourself. The whole journey of life is about learning who you are.
Yes. And I love when you say that, because that brings us to the point of you've gone through this journey. It's been a tumultuous one. And when you are there with your friends having an intervention, how much did sisterhood mean in that moment in time? Because you hear a lot of women get married and they drop out their friends. They don't have time for their friends. Was having friends something that helps you get to the point you're in today? Yeah,
I think one thing I would say is on holiday, the girls that were there, I didn't even mean to go for that intervention, but on holiday, the girls that were there, I think they just met me at a place where God used them to meet me there.
Okay.
That God used them as like that period to meet me there. And then the conversation was finished 1-to-1 when I was driving the quad bike, and I just remember hearing in my head, and this is one thing that I would never forget, the Holy Spirit confronting me. And I want some points when I ask myself this, I think, am I insane? But I'm not insane. And I use this Bible sector to say this. So I remember when God called Moses and told him to go and sacrifice Isaac.
Yeah.
Everyone doesn't consider that sacrifice was actually murder. God said, murder your child.
Essentially, yeah.
Murder your child.
Yeah.
You trust me enough, murder that child. And to us, it's like, oh my God, God said he should sacrifice. So, and this is pretty much it. When he went up that hill, he was going to commit murder, which is a sin. He was going up there to do something that it doesn't make no sense. It makes no sense. And then when he was about to do it, because he was showing how much he trusts God, God created an avenue, a way out. So when I was on that quad bike at that moment, I was saying to myself, God, so what are you trying to say? And he said, if I'm telling you that I've given you the freedom to leave and to breathe, take it. I thought, nah, this is a joke. I said, yeah, because I hate divorce. But what I hate more about divorce is the idea of the unity it breaks down. And it breaks down you, it breaks down the next person as well. So when they're entering another union, they're creating another more damage. That's what God hates about the idea of divorce. But sometimes it's necessary.
Yeah.
If we see how God has destroyed things God doesn't like destroying the world.
Yeah.
He didn't like flooding. He created all these things and
Yeah.
having to flood it and destroy it. But sometimes some things have to happen and then be unraveled in order to put things back in its right place.
Yeah.
And we don't know a lot of things. There's spiritual elements behind things that we don't know. There's so many factors that we don't consider, but we stay locked up. I'm going to stay married because I'm going to be endurance. And on my tombstone, I've endured. And for what?
Yeah.
To what end?
Yeah.
And I always ask myself this question, and this is how I started asking the pivotal question to women. When you get to heaven, is God going to look you eyeball and eyeball to say, how's your husband? Did you cook every day? Or did you lay it down every day? Or is it going to ask you, did you complete your purpose? What did I bring you to earth to do? Did you do that? Because a lot of us think our purpose is to be a wife.
Yeah.
Your purpose ain't to be a wife. Your purpose, I don't know how much more to say. Your purpose isn't to be a wife. It's one of the good things that we get to enjoy, being part of, God's children and everything. But it's not your purpose. Your purpose is to come, put light, put a smile on people's faces, put light where darkness is. Your purpose is to share with communities things that God has given to you. Show God's glory through your life, my life. It isn't to come on this earth and, hey, I got a ring.
On the gram.
It's...
So when you say, your purpose isn't to be a wife, then what is the purpose of being a wife? Is it then to use that to facilitate being purposeful in your family, being purposeful in assisting your husband for the family as a whole? But you're saying that we shouldn't center the identity of being a wife to deter us from what our overall goal is that God has for us.
Yeah.
Okay.
The bigger picture is fulfillment out of life.
Okay.
And when I say fulfillment, you cannot get any fulfillment out of life if you don't know your purpose. And if you think that being a wife is your purpose, you will find that you lived to fulfill a man's dream and not your own.
Oof, that's a serious one. And I want to touch on this as well because it felt like it came out of nowhere when you had your autoimmune disease that happened. Where were you at that point when that came?
I was stressed. I was suppressing every emotion I had. I was thinking all the time. I was having to call 3, 4, 5 different people just to make sure I was sane. Because sometimes I would think something and I would think I was losing my mind. It was getting to a place where I just wasn't, the word is I was just existing. I wasn't living anymore. Yeah. And all those things that were happening, they were mounting up inside me. Yeah. And not until finally when I got checked and everything, so many things happened after that. I left and I was still contemplating going back. I was still going back, your heart is still there, everything. Yeah. Yeah. And then I think I did a checkup. And, NHS was wasting my time. So I saw on TikTok some girl posted and she had exactly the same thing. And she was like, this is lupus. And I thought, wait, what? Yeah. And then I went to a doctor and then they said, request for an ANA test. And I said, what's an ANA test? I said, ask. So initially to go private, it's about a ridiculous amount for blood tests, like £800, £900. But then eventually when I got the tests and whatever, then it confirmed. And then I started searching up more studies, and I started seeing people on TikTok, mainly women, talking about how it's an autoimmune disease and it just developed from long periods and seasons of stress.
And black women, this is I got to look in the camera for this one, because black women, we internalize so much stress.
Yeah. We take the worst thing in this life is to put everything on your shoulders. That's why I'm asking every single time. Like, you need to ask yourself your purpose, because you can take everything on your shoulders, but what's making you alive, that you keep going? Purpose is about the reason why you are here. Yeah. If you know why you are here, it gives you something to hold on to when everything is still on your shoulders and you are exhausted. You're not suppressing who you are because you are living for this thing. Yeah. And that's the mistake we are making. I'm not saying that, you shouldn't get married and be a wife and have these amazing things, because we are all destined for that amazing thing. But the mistake that we are making is that we are just picking from, like, it's like we're picking a gummy bear machine. Like, we're just picking and trying it out. Yeah. We're not fully seeing, like, I think I like orange gummies because I like the taste and how it accentuates my brain and stuff like that. We're just picking, like, let me taste the orange one today and then I taste the red one tomorrow. Yeah. And it's so much built up in us. We've been taught by our mothers to chest things. Don't tell your friends your secrets. Don't tell your friends what's going on in your marriage. In fact, don't tell anybody. Okay, die silently.
I'm so glad that I haven't even mentioned this, because this is what we talk about on the show. Sometimes you have to have uncomfortable conversations to get to a comfortable place, because sometimes it's your friend or that person that tells you, hello, wake up. This ain't it, sis.
This is not who you are. You are changing. You're not this person. And it's sometimes the wake up call we need to make decisions that are key. Without my family, I wouldn't be here today, because I always say they gave me that wake up call, because even when I'd left, I was still like contemplating, I'm going to go back. Let me just continue. I used to say this statement to my friends: the whole nation is trash. Pick your trash accordingly. That was how I used to, demote everything in this world. Yeah. And I say, women are trash, men are trash, we are all trash. Pick your trash accordingly. And I remember looking at myself one day and I said to myself, okay, let's actually backtrack. No one's perfect and everything. But what do I actually want out of life? And is this going to get me there? Bingo.
I do feel like it's so important what you're mentioning, in the sense of, you hear people say all the time, breaking generational curses. But it is very important that we're very purposeful in the fact of, we can't keep encouraging our friends or children or girls that we meet along the way and on the journey to say, firm it. It's so easy and so flippant to tell people to firm every issue in life. But when you say deep dive and ask yourself, does this help me to get to where I want to be as an individual? Whether it be a marriage, friendship, job. And I'm just so glad you're mentioning that as well. When we're going through your life, it's like there's so much going on, because it's like, okay, once you got to that point, how did you decide, okay, I'm going to write a book about everything I've gone through?
And if I tell you how God has started with my life is a testimony, because I have had all kinds of illnesses, meningitis, all sorts of things. And I remember when the decision was made to write the book, I was in hospital. I had colitis. Yeah. It was my mum's 60th birthday and I couldn't attend. I planned this birthday with everyone and all the family. It was huge and I had a dress, everything, and I just couldn't attend because all of a sudden my stomach started hurting the day before and I ended up in hospital. Yeah. And that's how I ended up there for a week. And I remember on the day of the event, I watched it on my iPad. My friend recorded while everything was happening in live 3.0. And I thought to myself, God, I cried. I was like, how long am I going to always have to stand back for everything? With one illness, with one this, with one that. I'm always overcoming something. When would I just finally get to where I'm going? Like, when would I just finally feel? If it's not hospital today, it's running away from here, it's this, it's that. And so my life in general has been a testimony. Yeah. From getting my degree to fighting for my life in Nigeria with my legs being burned and all these things. There's so many things. And I remember that night, I just heard, open your laptop. So I opened the laptop and it just opened the PowerPoint and it gave me the inscription. At the time, I didn't have the title. It just said, you're going to basically write a book and you're going to encourage women to find their purpose and believe through everything they're experiencing that they are trying to get to their fulfillment of life. Yeah. The same way you are. And this book is going to empower women to discover their purpose. And most importantly, it's going to empower them to find what they love so they can truly and organically love the people around them, the communities. women right now, we are destroying each other. We are actively destroying each other because we're not happy.
Yeah.
You can see another woman, and when you, I mean, I face this in the clubs, in the parties, when you see them and you smile at them, they just give you evils. Like, why are you smiling for? Sometimes you just want to smile, and then, you know, sometimes you have conversations and stuff. You see guys, they spot each other and then they build a friendship with us.
Even if they've never met each other before. And it's like the first thing your fellow woman's thinking is, who the hell are you?
Who do you think you are to wear
before I
this
know
shoe?
how to treat you.
Yeah. Why do you have so much money? Why do you not have money?
Hey guys, you are watching this episode, but you sat there, you're chilling, you haven't even liked, you haven't subscribed, and I know you haven't dropped a comment. Can you believe that? Girl. Subscribe. Yeah,
Psych themselves up.
It's just weird. It's like, why is that defense there? Why do we have that silent competition amongst ourselves?
Because we have been taught to dim your light.
Yeah.
So when you see another person that's maybe not afraid to show their light,
yeah,
you feel threatened. It's new, like, it's
and that's
nature.
why it's hard to. That is why it's getting harder and harder to make friends as you get older as a woman, because you're thinking, okay, this friend, are they with me because they want to be my friend, or
they're trying to steal my light or my energy? Yeah. But the truth is, if every single woman figured out something, purpose, what is the area of wisdom you specialize in? Every single woman has an area of wisdom they specialize in. I do, you do, everyone does. And if I see that you specialize in this thing and I utilize what you have to give and you utilize what I have to give, we are building a nation of strong women. So when we see other women, we're not stepping on you, we're bringing you up. But the problem is, we have been taught by men and by the world to compete against each other, because everything for us is on stage. The boobs, the everything, they compare. This one is bigger than this one, but this one is not as juicy as that. This one is this. So women are now finding themselves in this invisible race. It's an invisible race because no one's running after you, no one's chasing you. And then your whole life is centered on, if I don't have someone else's last name, then I'm not even in the race to begin with. Yeah,
because that's when they start measuring the, are you married? Because before, it's like when you're younger, it's like, oh, did you go uni?
Yeah.
Okay, you went uni, but what did you study?
What
did you get?
Degree?
First,
oh,
second?
yeah, they size you up by what you studied as well. If you were in the creative department, you ain't smart.
Oh, you got coursework?
Yeah.
No exams?
No exams. Oh, that was me.
And it's so weird. It's so weird. Was. Even in A-levels, it used to be, oh, you're B-Tech.
That was me. You know what? Someone literally wrote me off. I remember she was like, oh, what are you studying? And I was like, oh, I didn't really do well in my A-levels. To me, I'm just a B-Tech. And she was just like, oh, so you just do writing, like, and I was like, yeah. And I got a distinction. She was like, it doesn't count. I said, thank you. Soft life. I don't care. I am here for chilling. I don't want to be stressing my brain.
But the crazy thing is that the B-Tech is equivalent to, I think, an A-level anyway. Yeah. Like 2 A-levels.
But they don't care. They don't care. They're just looking for something to size you up on.
And the thing is about human beings, especially when we say we're Christians and things like that, why do some people have this innate knee-jerk reaction of, I want to know where your level is before I know how to treat you as a human being? And it's so sad, even down to education.
They don't know themselves. If you know who you are, you stand in your light. When I met you initially, the way you came, you didn't come to me on like a slime, how people come corner, let me size them up, should I, you came who you are, as who you are. This is who I am, and it's a choice. I either take who you are, or I say, oh, I didn't really like how she was, and it didn't make no difference to who you are. But if you come as who you are, that's it. But a lot of people are afraid, because I've been in communities where I've had to people please because I was afraid of who I was.
Oh my God, I was like that as well. I was like, oh, I don't think people are going to like who I am. So let me give them a version that I think they'll like.
I was people pleasing.
I was suffocating myself.
Of course, we do it, all of us. I found myself in communities when we would have house parties and stuff. The community around us, I would cook, I would do everything, I'd joke around. Deep down inside, I always had things to share. I wanted people to know who I was. The version of me they would see was like a watered down version, but it was just because I was like, if they saw the full me, would they like it? You know? And then over time, I started becoming myself a bit more. I saw spaces I was comfortable I could, and some spaces I couldn't. But the truth is, if you are okay with who you are and you're not masking, that masking thing is, everybody's masking.
Listen, if you come from the Nigerian community, masking is second nature, because from being able to not look irritated if you're at the party too long and you say to mom, let's go, and mom goes, okay, we'll be going soon, and you're not going, and you're just like, fix your face. church, fix your
Everything.
face. So maybe something happened in the house, they've just cussed you out, you have to leave, fix your face.
Yeah, masking.
So as a child, you're used to just
Masking, yeah.
you're
You
used to
mask
masking,
everything.
because if you show
Mask,
too much
mask,
emotion, you're rude.
But then you're
disrespectful.
suppressing every emotion you have.
Yeah.
And then that autoimmune, that's why I think, I can't remember the percentage of women, but majority of women that have lupus are black women, I think.
Yeah.
I checked.
Yeah.
And the majority of autoimmune diseases, as of, I think this year was about 80-something% being women. So what is it? We are all suppressing our emotions towards each other, towards the people we are around. And that's because we are in the wrong communities. We're in the wrong spaces. We're with the wrong people. We're not building ourselves enough to say, I can stand in this space and feel like me, because we need a community of people to validate who we are pretending to be. Every day I want to be this version, and then you come and you pretend, and then you go home feeling happy with yourself, and then when in your dark quiet times you can't call no one because you've lied and pretended to be a version of you you're not.
The version that has it all together. But sometimes, and it's okay to not have it all together, because we are figuring things out. And
That's
so
life.
what if you're past a certain age, you're 20, 25, 30, 35, 40? Yes, I'm a wife. Yes, I'm a mother. Yes, I'm not a wife. It's okay to still be figuring things out without thinking, will I be judged? Would I be treated lesser by people who have already put me on a pedestal, who already have an opinion as me? And it's like, the scariest thing is, how do I tell someone that I know respects me or has regard for me that, by the way, I'm not that person anymore. Maybe I never was that person.
But do they respect you though? You have to ask yourself that question. What does respect look like to you? Do you think they respect you because they're giving you accolades? If you give me accolades, I think you respect me. Deep down inside, you could hate me and just be giving me accolades.
It's true, because people are fickle. They can
very
treat you
thick.
like something today, and if you're something else tomorrow.
They can put acid in your eye and say, it was not me. Yeah, everyone's fake. Think about it. What does respect look like to you?
What does respect look like to me? I think for me, like bottom line respect is regard. And I feel like regard can be tested in how people regard pivotal moments in your life. How do they regard you as a person and your emotions? But it's true, you never really know if someone respects you.
You have to decide what respect. To me, respect is consideration.
Consideration, yeah.
If a person considers me, if they go out and they buy one of this, you don't consider me.
No, because there should be two.
There should be two. I don't know. Yeah. How can you tell me, oh, I didn't know if you like this, so then buy it and find out.
Yeah.
But you see, there are so many people that buy one and say, we can share.
Nah, that's not
when
that.
you bring it up, we can share, because they didn't have you in mind.
Yeah.
And that's consideration. And to me, that's respect. So if I now ask the next person, you said it means being regarded.
Yeah.
Now, if you ask somebody else, it would mean being acknowledged.
And that acknowledgement is it's not good, because that acknowledgement can look all glitz and glamour. Because what's acknowledgement? Acknowledgement is so fickle.
It's fickle.
So fickle.
But to us, it's fickle because it doesn't matter. To the person that requires acknowledgement, it could come from a space where their parents did not acknowledge them. So they desire it from someone who truly wants to show friendship.
But that's when that friend bombing comes into play. Because I can be your friend very quickly. If that's all if I know all
Love
you need is
bombing,
acknowledgement,
yeah,
okay,
just-
I'll give you that first month. Now I'm your best friend.
Well, you see, the thing about it is, even all the things we are requiring, I can give you consideration first month. Let's see you wear your shoes in my house when I don't like it 3 months down the line, and I'll tell you, sis, you don't be doing that in this place, but I'm wearing my own shoes in my house.
Okay,
So everything about us human beings is forever changing. The point is that you have to be patient enough with time to really sift out what is there and what's not.
That's real.
So when I tell people all the time that when someone asks me, do I regret being married and then leaving my marriage and everything that happened, and I said, at the beginning I did, because I was like, if I hadn't done this, I wouldn't do that, and I won't be here today and this. But only when I finally accepted that it was the catalyst into where I am today, into this woman I'm becoming, then I can now be grateful for it, because I learned a lot. But most importantly, I feel like I can breathe, because I'm not having to enter a cage when people come and then paint my face and then sit there in my orange jumpsuit of pretense and be pretending for everybody. Hi guys. Like, you don't have to do that. You can truly now sit in who you are and say, okay, you know what? I know this, I know that, I know that I'm this. And however anyone takes it is how they take it.
So I want to ask you as well, because getting married at 28, being divorced at, was it 30?
30. So basically, I'm at the end of the divorce process, like towards the end.
Yeah.
We had like mediation, and I spoke about mediation on my page as well. And it's messy. Everything's messy, obviously. But it's been interesting. I think the whole process of divorce, I wouldn't advise anyone to it, because it really does show you in a weird way where you stand with someone.
And that's what I wanted to ask, because getting married at 28, getting divorced at 30, you hear these buzzwords of red flags. You got to see those red flags, sis. Do you feel like you would have benefited from red flags, or is it one of those things that we can say red flags all day long, but until you're in it, you're not going to pay attention? Like, it's so easy to ignore the red flags.
These days, everybody's a walking circus. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
Everybody. We all talk about red flags, but I think what we don't realize is that every single corner you turn, there's a circus there. Like, there's no perfect person. Everyone has a red flag.
Yeah.
You have a red flag, I have a red flag. We all do. The problem is that we spend our time looking for red flags that we don't appreciate who that person is. We can't. And the thing is, why I guess our mothers' generations, they thrived in marriage, was because of the fact that they overlooked those things because they didn't even have knowledge of it. And this is the Bible unfolding. It's literally, the Bible has said, like, don't eat the apple. Now everybody knows too much. So when you know too much, you know what you do? You're going fearfully. What God wanted us to do was not know too much and be innocent and childlike. Yeah. So that way, when you don't know too much, you don't have to second guess. But now when you know too much, you're second guessing everything. Even the ones that is for you. Even the opportunities that are there in front of you, you're like,
yeah. I'm in an R in too much, and then you get the indecisiveness.
Yeah, there's
so
red
when
flags.
Red flags. So we gotta be. It's a case by case in regards to red flags. When we're talking about the journey, and I wanna have this on camera as well, because I want to say to you, sister, I commend the fact that, and I want to say thank you for not giving up on yourself, because a lot of people, and it's not me judging anybody, but a lot of people would have gone through what you've gone through and been like, and I wouldn't blame them, because again, I can't judge. They would have been like, I'm done. But you always had that hope in you. You always listened to the Spirit when the messages were being clear to you, given to you, and you go ahead and you bless us with what you said yourself is your testimony with your book. And I want to ask, before you go, what do you want women or anybody reading your book to take away from it?
I think that the lessons in there are my life. I think with every lesson in there, what I wanted was a space where if you're going through maybe a level of anxiety or depression, you don't have to sit down and be asking questions, which Bible verse do I open? It's there. You open it, the Bible verses, you can open it and see in there. But most importantly, a lot of people are stuck with trying to build something that is already within them. Yeah. At the back of the book, I drew a caterpillar going into a cocoon and then a butterfly. Yeah. Our entire life experience is that we are going into this cocoon of issues and problems and things. You have separation, you have so many things. You have pride, you have anger, and everything you are learning is a cocoon that you're going into, and you're becoming a butterfly. Yeah. And you're earning your stripes as you're going. And if you don't allow all these negative things become a catalyst to form and build the perfect version of you, if you continue to give up. I think after my marriage, I thought that was the end of problems for me. I thought, I'm home free. I ended up going back into hospital and having fibroids and having 26 fibroids removed. That was another battle in itself. Yeah. And I hated it. But one thing I would take away from that experience was that it doesn't just end at that. There is going to be battles that you are going to have to fight. But if you spend time figuring out who you are, what your purpose is, you would then take that as a catalyst to become who you need to become. Why I'm here and now telling people my story on TikTok is because I've realized that my purpose is to help women find that which lies within them and bring it out so that they can discover that there's fulfillment beyond being a wife, a mother, a career woman, and that amazing singer or artist you want to be. You can actually mesh all those things into one and then reach 60 and not be like those aunties we're seeing. You will get to 60 and you will be so happy, smiling. Yeah. The next generation are getting positive vibes from you, not bitterness, not inheriting your traumas or your, men are wicked. And then you enter marriage and you're looking for all the areas your husband is being wicked in. The man was never wicked to you, but you've heard it so much, you're projecting. So now, if you heal and you desire fulfillment out of every single area of things that you love about you, then you can only then enter marriage with this man, and what you're doing is you're going to help him build his purpose. Yeah. You're going to be joyful about it. He's going to then be able to uplift you as well. You're both working hand in hand like a unit. The traumas are behind, or you're working through them. But one thing that's there is that you don't feel empty. When you give to him, you're giving from a space of richness, like we are supposed to, and abundance, not from a place of lack. Because you'll feel fulfillment out of everything you're doing, and it starts with you. What gives you fulfillment? When you feel, if this particular thing you are doing, this your podcast, if it's giving you fulfillment, you will feel fulfilled in every other area of your life.
Listen, words no truer. Thank you so much, Bamie, for coming on the show.
Where can
we get the book?
So it was meant to be available on Amazon,
yeah,
but we only have a limited copy right now.
Okay.
So these are like the first batch that got printed.
And
so we're like testing everything. So on my page, on my TikTok page, I have like a Beacons link, so you can order if you want some there and everything. But at the moment, we're just rolling out a few because it's actually expensive to print. Because if you check, there's like illustrations.
It's in color, so like, I get it.
Illustrations in there,
good.
and
it's needed.
Yeah, I don't believe. I mean, I like normal books and everything, but I feel like a lot of people don't read. So the colors and all the things would attract
attention span will be kept to this one.
If you have ADHD and stuff, it's something that will grab your attention.
You heard it. So we can get it on your TikTok page.
Yeah, on my TikTok page. So you can find it when you go on my TikTok page. You go to the Beacons link. You can find it there. Also there, I also have, every year I do calendars. This year I didn't because I was so busy. But I have calendars which have tasks that you can do to connect with God. And I'm also posting consistently to try and help people just feel empowered every single day. And I'm also starting one-to-one sessions with people because I've been getting so many DMs on how'd you get out of a dark space? How'd you keep going? And all these things. So I'm going to start one-to-one sessions with people where you can either just make an upliftment session or just an opportunity to get to know me and how I overcame some things and stuff like that. But pretty much that's where I'm at. And I've started back on my YouTube again. So hopefully you can follow the link and navigate around.
We're going to put all her links in the description box. Bamie's been such a blessing to have such an enlightened, wise sis like yourself that has lived life. And you live to tell the tale, sis. And we are rooting for you, everyone in the Hey Sis UK family. And hopefully you come back to the show as well. Because we know there's more to talk about as well.
So much. But hopefully, I really hope that, I'm happy that I was here. I learned a lot from you as well. I really hope that, this podcast, this whole entire thing you're building, it touches lives. Because I went through the page and I was like, wow, there's actually someone just reaching out to women. There's a space. I keep saying it. There's always a space that women need that's healthy, that's safe.
That is the whole intention, just for you to feel like if you're at home and you're watching this, if you're not ready yet to have that conversation, you can have it virtually with your virtual sis right here. So thank you so much, guys. You've been watching and listening. Make sure you like, subscribe, leave a comment. Don't be shy now. You've been listening or watching another episode of Hey Sis UK. Stay blessed.
Bye.
Because she moved like a queen and I like what I see and I want to get more of that.
I undress and he blows success. Lay down as you decompress. Come mine and forget the stress. But the 9 to 5 cause he tryna change his life. He can't help it but to show his bad sides.